Hi everyone, I'm Esther Eckhart and I'm with Yogetic.com, and today the sequence will be for runners. The targeted areas for runners are hips, hamstrings and a muscle called quadratus lumborum. Okay, we start standing at the top of our mats. The feet are a little bit apart and parallel to each other, and that's also important to keep the hips in the right position. Okay, on the in-breath you can bring your arms up and out. And really stretch your body there for a moment. Lift the breastbone, tailbone points down, and you can look up between the hands. Inhaling again. Exhaling, bring your hands down and placing them in your side. Inhale. Exhaling, come down with a straight back, hinging from the hips. Keep your hips over the heels. Good. And you only come down as far as you can do with a straight back. So you can place your hand on your back and check that it's straight, that it's not, that you don't feel a big hump. Good. And on the in-breath you come back up and you repeat that 2 times. So on the out-breath you come down, straight back. So maybe you can only come down as far as this with a straight back, and perhaps you can bring it parallel to the floor. And in, back up. Last one. And you really work the thighs. So you pull the thighs up strongly so the legs are nice and strong when you do this. Good. Breathing in. And then on the out-breath you come all the way down. Once you're down, you can hold the back of the thighs or the back of the calves. And it's okay to have your knees a bit bent if there's a lot of strain on the lower back. And this is all about the hamstring. So you keep hinging from the hips. And it doesn't matter how far down you get or whether you bring your nose to the legs or not. Your head should just be relaxed. So don't strain your neck. And really just focus on the stretch that you feel in the hamstrings. And if you're quite flexible there, you can begin to straighten those legs and lift the sitting bones up to the ceiling. You keep your shoulders away from the ears a little. You keep your elbows pointing to the back and you just breathe in this pose. And on your in-breath, your attention goes to the hamstrings. And on the out-breath, you see if you can go that little bit deeper. So the aim is for the chest to go towards the thighs and the upper legs. With straight legs, but everything in its own time. Okay. And then on the next in-breath, you can come up halfway. Use the strength of your legs, bring your hands in front of your chest, palms together, and draw those shoulder blades together at the back. And then on the out-breath, you place your hands on the floor in front of you. You might have to bend your knees to do that. And you can step your feet back into what's called a downward facing dog, an upside down V. And in this pose as well, stretch the hamstrings. And you can do that by bringing the top of the thighs back. But keep the spine nice and long. Okay. And on the next out-breath, you bring your knees to the floor. You step your right foot between your hands, and then you bring the weight back on your left knee. Now, for some people, if the hamstrings are really tight, you'll need to have blocks here to be able to do this. Okay, so you can flex your foot and you begin to increase the stretch there and point it a couple of times. And then also keeping your foot flexed, you can bring your hips from side to side and you can feel the stretch moving from the outside of the hamstring to more the inside. And wherever it feels tight, you can hold it for a few breaths. Okay. Then as well, you can inhale into your chest, and on the out-breath, draw your chest towards that thigh again. And it might not be possible at all, and you might just fold double, it depends. Okay. And then taking it a step further, you can tuck the back toes under and begin to straighten that front leg into a runner's lunge. You can place the back heel on the floor if you like. And again, stretching that back of the right thigh. And you might still need to be on those blocks, depending. You can, again, bring the chest to the leg. Okay. Bend the front knee and step back into downward facing dog. Bending the knees again, and do this on the other side. So you step your left foot forward. Bring the weight back onto the right knee. Flex and point your foot a couple of times. And then as well, moving your hips from side to side. And holding it there where it feels tight. Staying with the breath. Taking it a little further, bringing the chest towards the thigh, if it wants to go. And stretching that front leg, dropping the back heel as much as you can, stretching that front leg for the runner's lunge. Okay, and back into downward facing dog. Then from downward facing dog, we can step our feet in towards our hands. And we're going to come up again to standing by pulling up our knees and our thighs and bringing our arms up and out to come to standing. And then we do a triangle pose. In triangle pose, your left foot is pointing to the front of the mat and the right foot is pointing slightly inward. Breathing in, bring the arms up sidewards and extend over the left leg, taking the left ribs away from the hip. And let the right hip come around a bit and then bring the left arm down and the right arm up. And this is where you might need a block again. So you place your hand right underneath the shoulder. Now with the triangle to work this is where you work the quadratus lumborum muscle. You want to keep the same amount of length in the left side as in the right side. So don't collapse the left side to bring that hand on the floor, because then you're not working that muscle properly. So you really work on lengthening that muscle. And as well you work on having as little weight in the left hand as you can. So you extend out actively through the right arm. And that's when you really work, again, the muscle that you're trying to target. And you're also opening the rib cage to the ceiling, opening your heart. And take a few breaths. Strong legs, pull up the kneecaps and the thighs. You can look at your right hand. You can also decide to look straight ahead if your neck gives you trouble. Okay, after a few breaths, pushing into the feet, extending up through that right arm. And you can change the orientation of your feet, taking your block with you. So the right foot is pointing to the mat, to the front of the mat, and the left foot is pointing slightly in. Inhaling, extending over the right leg again, lift the right ribs away from the hips and place the right arm down and the left arm up. And again, pull up the kneecaps and the thighs into the hips strongly. Rotate the rib cage up to the ceiling and extend out to that left arm. And your hand can also be somewhere here. If you're doing this pose for the first time, you feel you can't go much further. It's more important to keep that length. So you might want to do this in front of a mirror or someone there with you, telling you that you're not collapsing. And when you're ready, you're coming back out. And you step your feet back to the front of the mat. Okay, these were just a few poses you can do when you have trouble with those targeted areas I was talking about. One thing I would still recommend would be a hip opener extra. So maybe have a look at the yoga for opening the hips on my website, the video there. And look for pigeon pose. Okay, good luck, and I hope this helps.